Horse of Zoology podcast. Today I'm sitting down with Dave Shealy. Dave Shealy is most known for his skunk ape research, but he's also known for having one of the most profound attitudes in the field. Dave's a controversial figure not only by the alleged evidence he presents, but also by him being as opinionated as he is. Nonetheless, he is exceedingly invigorating, and it's an unforgettable experience having him on. Would you like to start off with just sort of, if you're comfortable talking about yourself, what it is that you do in, I believe, the Big Cypress swamp area, right?
That's correct.
So,
Alright.
right.
Well, I'm Dave Shealy, and I live here in the Big Cypress National Preserve in South Florida. The preserve is located on the northern border of Everglades National Park. When most people think of Florida and the Everglades, they think of Everglades National Park. But the Big Cypress Preserve is as big as the park is, and it's actually a little drier ground, and it's a better habitat for mammals than the park. The park is mainly an aquatic park made up of mangroves and 10,000 islands. There are a few hardwood hammocks and some dry ground, but the Big Cypress is where it's happening. This is where the gators are. This is where the deer are, the bears, the panthers, the pythons. So I'm right in the middle of that right now. I am dead center in the middle of Big Cypress National Preserve, and yeah, that may sound unusual that somebody's here, but my family moved to the Everglades in 1890. The property that I'm on now was purchased in 1963, so it's an exempt property. It wasn't bought up by the government when they were creating a preserve. We're the last people here. All my neighbors are Indians, Seminole Indians and Miccosukee Indians.
What was it like growing up in the Big Cypress area?
Well, I guess if you compare it, I always say, well, I see life a little different, because instead of the town growing and people becoming prosperous, my hometown was torn apart by the government's buying up the land to create this preserve. So everything that was here when I was a kid has been destroyed and leveled and returned to nature. So it's kind of different. It was a real free life growing up. I could airboat and swamp buggy and hunt and just, enjoy being a human being. But today, with the National Park Service here, there's just laws against everything, and it's quite honestly, it's kind of depressing, to be honest with you. I mean, I make the most of it, but everything's illegal. I'm building a little shed for cleaning frogs. I like to catch frogs in my yard. I mean, that's illegal. A little squirrel came up to me while I was building the shed. Its mother had been taken by a hawk in my yard. So I took it in and fed it. Today I found out having a baby squirrel's illegal. I mean, it's just a bunch of crap, to be honest with you. It's a beautiful place, and if you're a tourist and you come here, everything's happy. But when you live here, it kind of sucks, quite honestly. The place is beautiful, but it's just too much government control.
Right. I understand that you have a campground that you run. Would you say that you running a campground is kind of in connection to how you feel about the rules around the park?
Well, running the campground, my mom and dad built it for their retirement, but it was destroyed. Even though we're allowed to stay here, there was a huge push by the National Park Service to have us removed. They built 7 campgrounds all around us and let people stay there for free and provided them with everything in the world just in order to starve us out. I don't really want to get on a rant about it, but I can tell you the National Park Service is nothing more than the United States Cavalry. That's how it started. And they don't like people. And they've treated my family very, very poorly. Now, I just turned the land over to my son, and he runs businesses that are all licensed through the park, and the business itself is doing good. My land is worth several $1 million and always has been. But that doesn't mean I make millions of dollars. Hell,
right.
I lived in poverty for the last 25 years just trying to hold on to it. But my son's turned it around, and I'm grateful that he's got it. And, but like, he's a guide, and he has guides that work for him, and he carries the national park name. And I don't guide. I grew up guiding and living and running free, but in order to be a guide here in the preserve, you have to attend classes, and they pretty much indoctrinate everybody on what they can say to visitors. So
right.
for a visitor to come here to the Everglades and hire a guide and get the true essence of what it's like to live here, they're not going to get it, because by law they can't. Their licenses will be stripped. So I refuse to guide. I'd rather starve to death. I made more money when I was 15 years old here than I do today. Right now, the national park and the preserve is being run by Pedro Ramos. He is a Puerto Rican national. He was born and raised on Puerto Rico, and he came here and got a job with the National Park Service, and he sat in the office until affirmative action got him a seat as the commander of the Everglades. And, and that's all well and good. But in my opinion, he needs to go back to Puerto Rico and help those people over there rebuild their lives. The place is a wreck. And we need somebody that's from here running the park, not somebody from Puerto Rico. That's just my opinion, and I could be wrong.
When you say someone from here, do you mean generally from the country, or do you mean specifically from the area? Because you seem to really, you have a great passion for what this area used to be.
Yeah, and, I would like to say it still is, but, I mean, we're gonna talk the truth here. I'll tell you what's going on. They brought these cougars from Texas here to the Everglades because they said the Florida panther was endangered and they needed to up the gene pool.
Right.
And what happened was the biggest fiasco in the state of Florida. They brought these cougars in, they bred them with a few cats that were here. I know these people. I know the individuals that track them, that tree them, that tranquilize them, that trap them. I mean, these are people I see every day. But what's happened is they've eaten all of our wildlife. The deer population is down to nothing. 50,000 wild hogs disappeared overnight. And I mean, that was a food source. People hate pigs. The pigs are the most hated animal on earth. But growing up here in the Glades, they were brought here by the Spanish. They were part of my life, but they villainized them by saying, they create grows in the ground and exotic plants take root in them and they grow. And it was all BS is what it was. And everything was fine here. The wild turkeys are and now they're blaming it on the pythons. Oh, we've got pythons here now, and they're everything. Let me tell you something. If people notice, there's a show on now called Guardians of the Glades, and it's on Discovery. And all those people are friends of mine. I see them every day. They just got 8 more shows that'll be on Discovery. I'll be on it a lot. You'll see me on it. And they've even brought snakes here in release, and they call them Judas snakes. They've got transmitters, and they're trying to scientifically figure out what the snakes do so that they can better understand them and harvest them. But it's all baloney. Right now, I've killed 9 pythons in the last 3 weeks right here around my house. I haven't seen 9 pythons in the last 20 years. So it's big money thing, and people just don't see it, and it's just sad, So what people do and just kind of act like this isn't happening, but it's hard sometimes.
Right. It's understandably hard. That's in an area that
I've
you're...
been here longer, my life, I've lived here longer than all of the people who work for the Everglades National Park is combined. I've lived here myself longer years than all of their years combined. Mm-hmm. That's how bad it is.
Right.
I've sat on the toilet longer than Pedro Ramos has been in the Big Cypress or the Everglades. I've sat on the toilet that long. That's how bad it is.
Well, hopefully there's some kind of turnaround ahead with
So let's move along. You want to talk about the Park Service?
I'd love to ask you.
Indonesia. The leaders from this park are in Indonesia. They're studying orangutans. Mm-hmm. Why are they studying orangutans? Why aren't they taking care of the Everglades? Because the skunk ape is huge. It's huge. They think that what I have been photographing and documenting all of my life is a group of orangutans that is living here in the Big Cypress. Mm-hmm. And they're out setting out to try to prove it. They've gone to my bedding areas that I found, into the swamps, and I met 7 Indonesians in the forest looking for orangutans in the past year. And that's not what I'm seeing. It's not orangutans. They're crazy.
Well, certainly the publicized footage and photographs that you claim to have don't seem to show orangutan-like behavior or posture or anything like that. What are your experiences with your skunk ape sightings?
Well, I've lived here all my life, and it's always been a part that people talk about. Oh, I saw a skunk ape the other day, but there were more people here then. There've been over 100 people displaced just within a 50-mile radius. I mean, so they would see them regular. So growing up as a kid, I'd hear about the skunk ape. And when I was 10 years old, I went out with my brother behind the park here, where I'm at right now. Mm-hmm. And he saw something in the distance. I couldn't see it. The grass is high down here, but he picked up, and I looked out over the grass, and about 150 yards out was what we had been talking about, a skunk ape. Now, skunk ape and a Bigfoot, and I caught a lot of flack off this for years. I've been doing this a long time, and I do not like to talk about the national park. And I sound racist talking about the man from Puerto Rico that's running the place. I don't mean it that way. That's not what I mean. What I mean is we need somebody from here. I'm not a racist.
Right.
Okay, but back to the story. So there's a difference between the Bigfoot and the orangutan, and that was a big issue. The tracks I'm finding, not from the Bigfoot and the skunk ape, and an orangutan as well, but the tracks I'm finding are 4-toed tracks. Right. Every track I've found over the last 4 years has had 4 toes, and that's unusual, and it's a big turnoff to the Bigfoot community. And I had threatening phone calls. Of course, they don't know me very well because they're threatening the wrong guy. Mm-hmm. I don't put up with that. They can all go to hell if they want to go that route. I'll just tell you, finding Bigfoot. Finding Bigfoot was here. They're never going to find Bigfoot. They asked me if I wanted to be on the show. I didn't want to be on their show, and I'll tell you why. This is something else that's going on that people don't know. What people don't know is that television, and you're going to say, oh man, this guy's crazy. Television's fake. Hello, it's a television show. This is made for entertainment. This is Finding Bigfoot. It's an entertainment television show. There's nothing real about it. Mm-hmm. They don't even film in national parks. They film, when they came here, they don't get the permits to film here. They don't have the time or the money. It's all a big joke, and the joke's on the American public. And television has gotten so bad, it's gotten so bad to the point where they've almost convinced me that there's no Bigfoot watching those shows. I just quit. I can't take it anymore. I've been approached and been on television shows for the last 25 years, and not one of them has went and got the proper permits to do any type of expedition in the preserve. The footage that I took in 2000, Dave Shealy's Skunk Ape footage, you can see it on YouTube. You'll never see it on entertainment television, and they've offered me tens of thousands of dollars if I show it to it, if I give them the rights to use it. But they're not going to put my hard work on their crappy show. I'm just not going to have it. It's disrespectful.
Right.
The survivor shows come here. Hey, Dave, can you get a snake dude to eat a snake for dinner today? Well, yeah, I'll get the snake, and then they build a camp, and they go stay in the hotel in town, and they come back and act like they woke up and killed a snake and ate it. I'm just sick of it. I'm sick of it. So what I do is real research. Nobody has ever been here in 20 years to walk out to the spot where I took my footage and say, oh, this is just some guy in a gorilla suit. Nobody's been here to say this is, nobody's been here to say a damn thing. Mm-hmm. There's been no research in the Everglades, period. And the only validation that I can have is for the park to say, hey, Dave's not kidding. Dave's seeing something. They don't want me to do well. They don't want people to come here. They don't want to validate anything I do. If something validated, they want the credit. That's the way it goes. Right. And they're in Indonesia right now, meeting with orangutan experts. Swear to God, cross my heart and hope to die. That's where they're at right now. And if Donald Trump, if he knew, I think he does know what's going on. I think he does know what's going on in the government. This is an agency out of control. The National Park Service is an agency that's totally out of control with spending and craziness. And none of your Bigfoot shows have ever been filmed in the Everglades. Never. Not one. Not one.
Right.
Finding Bigfoot came to the Everglades, they were 40 miles from here. Don't believe that bullshit. It's not true. It's fake. And you're like, well, Dave, God, man, this is pretty heavy stuff you're laying on my podcast here. My listeners think I'm gonna...
No, this is something that a lot of people talk about. No, I'm not suggesting that you aren't. There's definitely a good amount of people, and it's not an unreasonable thought to assume that, at the very least, a lot of areas where these animals are likely to exist are the sightings are ignored because my own personal idea is that if there is any kind of conspiracy, areas like the national parks or other areas in the wilderness are focused on changing those areas either to fit in more living spaces or for logging or whatever it may be, and those industries would crumble if there was a great ape discovered living there that was unique to North America.
Yeah.
So, considering all of that, when you say that you've been the one doing research out here, and you have spent a very good deal of time in the Everglades, you said you found tracks. You've got 2 more encounters, I think, that aside from when you were younger, and there was actually a quite interesting. I think it was a student documentary that I saw that you were in called "They Live in Trees." And in the documentary...
Yeah, you saw that one? My son hates it. Yeah, go ahead.
And in it you mentioned that you believe that the skunk ape to be partially arboreal, that it climbs trees and occasionally will spend time there.
Well, right now, 90% of the Everglades, including the Big Cypress, which I brag, is underwater, but it's peak summertime now, so there's nowhere to go but in the trees. That's it.
Right. I've also...
I get a little bit of feedback, so I'm having a little bit of a hard time hearing you, and I'm in the middle of nowhere, so I don't expect good service, but it's kind of harsh right now.
My apologies for that, sorry. I wish I could do something to change that.
That's okay. But as far as, I get this all the time. What do you say to those people who believe that this is just all a big hoax? Well, where the hell nobody's here? How can you say that when you've never been here? I was out 3 days ago in an area that nobody stepped foot in for 40 years. But people will sit on their couch in Tucson, Oklahoma, and say there's no skunk ape. I don't get it. I just don't get it. Are people that lazy?
There is definitely a massive misconception flying around with how much of not just the world, but especially North America, is relatively like unexplored. And a lot of people, when they picture North America, are like, oh yeah, it's the conquered wilderness, there's cities and towns everywhere. There's really not. The amount of woodlands just in, Maine, let alone Florida or Washington or California or Oregon, is like, it really is insane. And people don't seem to realize that until they actually get there and spend time there.
The Everglades is the largest interconnected wilderness area east of the Mississippi. A lot of people don't know that. They think, well, Florida, it's just down there in the tip of America's wing. No, it's huge. It's the largest wild area east of the Mississippi in the continental United States of America. That's how big it is. And the way the government has squeezed everybody out, and I tell you what, they put a hurting on the general public, because when I was a kid, people would come and visit me, and I would show them the Everglades, and they talked about it to their kids who talked about it to their grandkids, and the stories went on. But you come here today and take an airboat ride, you're on private property.
Right.
You can't ride in the Everglades. It's illegal.
Right.
People think they want to come to the Everglades and go on an airboat ride. It's illegal. Period. That's it. You can't. People don't get here anymore. People don't know this.
Considering all the restrictions that are there right now, how is it that you do conduct your research?
Well, most of my research, I cannot take by law, I cannot take anybody with me.
Mm-hmm.
I have to go completely by myself. If I do take a friend and they so much as hand me a bologna sandwich, it's a violation of the law. And I could go to jail for that. That's how bad it is. So if, like, my son takes tourists into the national park. He's one of the operators, and they have a river that they let people go in, but you can't go off the river. And for the love of God, don't talk about any of the sacred Indian burial grounds or anything, because they don't want the public to know about it. It goes
Right.
on and on. It's just, I can't do it. I just can't do it. And I can't believe it's gotten this bad on people who live here and depend on the Everglades for substance, that we are forced by law not to tell our opinion or the truth. And you think, I remember, I've been doing this a long time, and the Bigfoot researchers long ago, Roger Patterson, Richard Greenwell, he would go to China. He was a friend of mine. He would go to China and hunt the forests of China looking for the yowie. And he would tell me about all the travesties that he would see in the villages. And then one time he came to me and he said, Dave, I can't go anymore. The Chinese government will not allow me to go into the forest anymore. They don't want me there. And I thought, man, that communism is bad. That's bad stuff. Lo and behold, 20 years later, I can't walk out my back door. I mean, I don't know. And what does it matter to somebody living in New York City that Dave Shealy can't walk out his back door a free man?
Right.
Doesn't mean a damn thing. But I tell you what, it means everything to me. And it's made my life miserable. And my mother and father are dead over this. And this is all the plans of the national park. And it's so sad. It's just so sad.
That is sad, and it's not even just sad for your own experience living there as a citizen who should be treated better, but I'm assuming that you have concerns as well for the future of this species that you're trying to research.
Yeah, well, my son's a player. He's young, he's internet savvy. I don't make a lot of money, but I mean, I've got a couple of grandkids. I'll probably get some more. My place is here. It's rock solid. And the park comes up to me, and the rangers, and they pat me on the back, and they say, Dave, I know it's been tough, See, the preserve didn't come with a handbook. This was the first preserve in the United States of America.
Oh, wow.
So they just made up the laws as they went along.
Mm-hmm.
And they made up any laws they wanted, and the laws were made to hurt the people that live here, to make them want to leave.
Right.
And that's the laws I live under.
Right.
But they pat me on the back and say, well, just look, your son's taken over the business and is thriving and life is good. And I'm thinking, yeah, well, maybe it is. But what about my life, you know? What about the life you stole from me? What about the 20 years I lived in poverty, you know? Get away from me, you slob, you pig. I mean, I hate him. I just hate him.
Understandably so.
Yeah, I do. And yeah, it's not right to hate, and I say that, you know, and I can't. I'm friends with the Indians, you know, and it was only the Seminole Indians fought the longest Indian war in American history. It was the most costly war in human lives and in money. That's a fact, the Seminoles. Those are my friends. Those who I was with today, you know.
Right.
Those are my kind of people.
Right.
They are currently the richest Indian tribe in the United States of America. They own all the hard rocks. They just built a 500-foot guitar over in Fort Lauderdale. They're building another one in Japan. They're billionaires. They're friends of mine. And we hang out. I went over and helped one move a couch today. And they're simple, and they suck it up. I mean, they don't hate the white man for killing their grandmas and grandpas 100 years ago, which isn't that long ago.
Mm-hmm.
But deep inside, they know. They know. And just like I know. And it's just hard. I need to get over it. I need to move on with my life. But it's just hard.
Do you think that your research kind of holds you in that spot to some extent?
Say again, I'm having a hard time.
No problem. Do you think that your research on the skunk ape phenomenon kind of keeps you in that spot to some extent?
Has it put me in a better spot? Is that what you're asking?
Yes.
Well, it has. It has. In a lot of ways. I mean, you know, I'll be honest with you. I sell $50,000 worth of skunk ape T-shirts a year in my shop. I mean, that. Yeah, but I live in the middle of nowhere, and it's expensive to live here.
Right.
And so, in that respect, it has. I get a lot of respect from the Native Americans, the Seminole and Miccosukee tribe included. They have hundreds of attorneys, and I mean, if I need legal assistance, I can go to them, and they will put their whole board on it. But I mean, just because I can doesn't mean I do that. Occasionally I have called upon them when I saw the government making moves that were really going to negatively impact the Everglades, and they took care of it in a big way. One point, the government was coming in with a 20-foot chain link fence and was going to wrap it around my campground so we couldn't get out. They were going to give us a little exit where we could get out on the road. And it was like they were going to cage me. And I got the Indians to step in, $600,000 in planning. They had to throw it in the trash. A couple of things like that I've had to call them on because I just couldn't fight it myself.
Right. Well, it's good at least that you have these funds from selling the merchandise. I understand that you run a museum of sorts down there as well.
Run a what?
I understand that you run a skunk ape museum of sorts.
Yeah, it's growing. It's growing. My son, because of the park's, negative look on me, my son isn't that big on it, but he knows every day I get, 50 or 100 people stop in to meet me if I'm here or buy some stuff. So he likes that. It's a good part of the business. But what was the question again? I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. I was just asking about the museum in general, and as well, what is it that you've found in your research with the skunk apes?
How am I doing it?
No, what have you found in it? Like, what would you say that you've learned about the species?
Found?
Yeah, what would you say you've learned about this species?
Well, I found that we have between 7 and 9 that live here in the Big Cypress National Preserve. And that's based on the tracks that I found. I found that they bed up in the trees, or a lot of people, you don't see the Bigfoot in a tree. I actually sat down, that's how I kind of got with you. I just got internet service today after 3 years. Here at my cabin. So I sat down calling people that have emailed me, like up north. They emailed me 6 months ago, and I called them today. But they were happy to hear from me. And I spent the day talking to people about that. But you don't ever hear stories about the Bigfoot being in a tree. I mean, of all the stories all my life, nobody says, well, we saw Bigfoot in a tree. It was in a tree.
Right.
But here in the Everglades, it's a common thing. People see them all the time.
That's interesting, because the tracks that you found, as you said, they have 4 toes, and then in quite a few of your tracks there's this sort of thumb-like toe. Do you think that that's part of the species' ability to climb trees, is this thumb-like appendage?
Okay. The reason that I'm having a hard time answering is because I'm getting the echo, but you're saying I found the 4 toes tracks. Say again?
So you found these 4-toed tracks, and I've seen photographs of these tracks. They seem almost like they have thumbs on them. Do you think that these sort of thumb-like toes are...
They have another digit maybe located that's not touching the ground?
Yes. Do you think that has been used to be able to climb trees?
I think that they may have another digit that's not touching the ground. That's for sure. But I don't know that. I don't know that for a fact. The tracks I find are all 4-toed tracks. That's what I find. I've never found a track with a 5th toe.
Interesting.
Okay, I'm trying my best now. I'm in the middle of nowhere.
It's fine.
I'm mad as hell, and I'm not going to take it no more. No, I'm just kidding.
You definitely. I gotta say, it's been very invigorating to talk to you. I must say that.
Well, yeah, and you're welcome. And like tomorrow, I gotta feed this illegal squirrel I got in my house and figure out what I'm going to do with it. But tomorrow, I have a beautiful woman from Denmark, and she's going to spend the day with me tomorrow, and she's doing a story on my life and a day in the life, and she's going back to Denmark to sell it to movie producers.
Oh, wow.
And then also we'll start filming the 6 episodes of Guardians of the Glades, which will be airing on Discovery Channel, and then also my website, skunkape.info. If people are interested, go to skunkape.info. And my name is Dave. If you go to Dave Shealy Skunk Ape footage on YouTube, you'll see the footage that has yet to be examined after 20 years going on. And that's me. That's my life. And I sure appreciate your interest as well. I wish I had a little better connection. I think the conversation would have went a little better. And I understand the need to preserve wild areas. I understand the need for the National Park Service. So I'm not a Park Service hater, but I have a real problem with what goes on in their head offices. I think some of the people need to be swapped out. They've been there too long.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's been a really good experience talking to you, Dave. Thank you so much for taking my invitation.
Oh, it's my pleasure. And you're going to call me back anytime. I'll be a little more prompt, okay?
Absolutely.
All righty. God bless and have a good night.
You as well, Dave.